Hello and welcome back to the Advanced Accounting course. In this lesson, we will continue configuring the Accounting module. Let's start by clicking on Accounting, Configuration, Settings. Let's scroll down and begin with the Units of Measure setting. This allows you to sell and purchase products in different units of measure. The setting is available in the Sales, Purchase and Inventory modules. If activated in one module, it will automatically be activated in the others. The next section is the Customer Payment section. The Invoice Online Payment configuration allows your customer to pay invoices online. When invoices are sent to a customer, they will be sent with a link to pay online. Odoo can be integrated with payment processing solutions such as Stripe, PayPal and Aiden, and other providers depending upon your country. Let's keep this enabled. We will cover the payment provider configuration in a later lesson. The next configuration available is Batch Payments. This configuration allows users to easily batch an incoming payment so that when it comes to the reconciliation of this payment on your bank statement, it is as easy as a click of a button to match multiple invoices. For example, when your customers pay multiple invoices as one lump payment. The SEPA direct debit feature only applies to EU and some other European countries, including the UK. As a UK company, there are advantages and disadvantages of using SEPA direct debit in comparison to normal UK direct debit provided by third-party providers such as Go Cardless and FastPay. An advantage of SEPA for UK companies is that it is cheaper or free in most instances to collect money through SEPA direct debit. The disadvantage of SEPA for UK companies is that it uses euros as the base currency, which means when a user sends a collection instruction to their bank through SEPA DD, then the collection will be subject to foreign exchange conversion and related conversion fees will apply. For this course, let's keep it disabled. The BACS feature allows you to generate BACS files for bill and invoice payments, which can then be uploaded to your bank's portal for processing. BACS files are electronic payment files used in the UK to facilitate transfers between bank accounts. To use this feature, you need to configure your BACS service user number and ensure that the BACS direct debit payment method is enabled in the relevant bank journal. The next feature we have, again, is a European-specific functionality to print bank QR codes on invoices, allowing the customer to scan the QR code from the bank app to pay for the invoice. Let's keep it disabled. The next configuration section is Vendor Bills. The first configuration is Purchase Receipt. Like sales receipts, purchase receipts allow users to post a bill without vendor information. Predictive vendor bill functionality predicts the product associated with a bill based on the history of previous bills. This could be useful for small companies dealing with few suppliers. The last configuration in this section is Auto-Validate Bills. If you activated this option and imported 3 consecutive bills for a vendor without editing them, Odoo will prompt you to enable automatic validation for future bills from that vendor. This setting can be turned on or off at any time from within the vendor's profile. The next section is Vendor Payment, with configurations linked to checks and SEPA credit transfers. Enabling this basically means that we use checks as a medium of payment for making a payment to suppliers. If enabled, users can define the layout and size of checks. SEPA credit transfer allows users to pay the supplier using the SEPA framework mentioned earlier, which converts the GBP to Euro and then back to GBP if a UK company was to transfer using this feature to send money to its UK supplier. Let's keep this disabled. The next section is Digitisation. Odoo allows users to create customer invoices and vendor bills in several ways, creating manually, sending an email to Odoo email alias, and using Odoo Purchase and Sales modules to raise invoices or bills from an existing purchase order or sales order. If using one of the first two methods for creating an invoice, customer, vendor, then optical character recognition, OCR, will help autofill the bill invoice details. For example, when an invoice is sent to Odoo through an email alias and automatically creates a bill or invoice record, the OCR functionality picks these invoices and fetches the details from the attachments and autofills all the details. This eliminates the need for the user to manually enter the data into the system. In Odoo 18, the handling of bank statements and their digitisation has evolved. Here's a breakdown of the settings. Do not digitize. In earlier versions, you would have to manually enter all the bank statement details. Digitize automatically. Odoo 18 has introduced AI-powered document digitization. This means that when you upload a bank statement, the system can automatically extract the relevant data using optical character recognition, or OCR. Digitize on demand only. On demand means that OCR will only be triggered when you request it. It is not done automatically. These features are part of the credit-based system requiring purchased credits with Odoo. The next configuration section is default accounts. Here, a user will define default accounts for automation. The first configuration allows a user to configure how the system posts the exchange rate difference. This configuration usually defaults the settings, as displayed here. The default configuration depends upon the fiscal localization setting that was installed. As the UK settings have been installed, these fields auto-populates the gain and loss account to the respective gain or loss account. As with other configurations here, fields will be auto-set based on the installed fiscal localization, and a user generally would not be required to change these settings if they are using the standard chart of accounts. However, if not, they would need to be reconfigured to the client's chart of accounts. For example, let's say we are updating our chart of account and we see a foreign exchange gain account that we feel better suits the employee expense account, and we update the account tile as employee expense. The impact is that now the system will always post all the gains from exchange rate to the employee expense account, unless this setting is updated with a different currency gain-loss account. Let's review the other default accounts. We have bank suspense, which works as control when your bank statements are fetched automatically, if configured, and not yet reconciled against any individual account or invoice. We have internal transfer, which works as control when making an internal transfer between bank accounts. Deferred expenses, or prepayments, are costs paid in advance for goods or services not yet received or used. These are recorded as assets and recognized gradually over time in the profit and loss statement. For example, a £24,000 yearly rent payment would be posted to a prepayment account and expensed monthly at £2,000. Odoo handles this automatically by spreading the expense across periodic journal entries. You can configure a dedicated journal for deferred expenses to improve reporting clarity. Within the configuration, you can also specify which prepayment accounts should be used. The Generate Entries setting allows you to choose when the deferred entries are created, either automatically upon bill validation or manually at your discretion. The Based On field lets you define how the expense should be spread. The Months option accounts for £2,000 each month prorated to the number of days in that month. For example, £1,000 for the first month if the start date is set to the 15th of the month. The Full Months option considers each month started to be full. For example, £2,000 for the first month, even if the start date is set to the 15th of the month. This means that with the Full Months option, a full £2,000 is recognised in the first partial month, eliminating the need for a 13th month to recognise any remainder, as would be the case when using the Months option. The Days option accounts for different amounts depending on the number of days in each month, for example, January and February. These same settings apply to deferred revenues, allowing you to recognise income over periods. We will explore deferrals in more detail in a later lesson. We also have the Invoice Line Discounts account settings available here. By default, discounts are posted to the same income account as the product on customer invoices, or to the product's expense account on vendor bills. However, if you use dedicated accounts for discounts, you can configure them here accordingly. Early payment discounts, also known as rebates or cash discounts, are incentives offered to customers to encourage prompt payment of their invoices. These discounts are usually a percentage of the total invoice amount and are applied if payment is made within a specified timeframe. They help businesses improve liquidity by encouraging faster cash inflow and supporting consistent cash flow management. With a cash discount, the amount you earn depends on whether the customer benefits from the cash discount or not. This inevitably leads to gains and losses, which are recorded on these default accounts. Please note that the setting can be activated in the Payment Terms menu. That's it for this lesson, where we have continued to review configuration settings. why don't you head to the next lesson, where we will cover the remaining headings under the Configuration Settings menu. Thanks for watching, and until next time.